Hey, it's Chris. This is Flattankjourney. Welcome back to the Wedge tank. This week's episode, I've hopped in and have a fair go at footrests. Now this is actually shot over 2 weeks, maybe, where I experimented, grunted, sweated, did a few things, waited for parts, got some things made, and waited a bit longer. Nonetheless, I think we've got a reasonable outcome. Come along for the ride. I hope you enjoy the video. That is going to be my new footrest hole. That hole in the gearbox and engine plate was square. I took to it with a square file. This is just sitting there on the bench. And I filed it out. Took about 10 minutes to take this piece of hex bar that I already had. This is going to be the start of my footrest mounts. I want them to look clean and tidy and look like they belong on the bike. I really don't want them to be shabby or, pardon the expression, half-assed. Well, there's the other side done. And it wasn't overly difficult. And truth be told, this is a couple of days later. I've had a chance to think it through about what I'm going to do. So the hex bar's in and it won't turn. And that's the object of the game. Now, on here, you can see some lines. So I arbitrarily decided to leave 1 inch to cut a thread because I need to bolt the riser for the footrest on. The other black line is where I'm going to put a circlip. And that's 5mm behind the first line. And maybe this will make more sense when I've cut some threads, and I'll do that shortly and show you. So that I've got 8mm plate being cut into risers like the original footrests, like these, because that would have been the theory. So I've got 8mm plate having the hexagonal hole cut in it. So it'll go over, sit against the circlip, and tighten up with 2-3mm to spare. So it can't turn and it'll be snug against something. Or at least that's the theory. Now, I took a sample of the hex bar to a friend who's a small engineer, and he's going to cut those out and do the work for me. And he'll charge me, and that's okay. And I hope it turns out. And I hope later in this video, you're seeing the whole thing at once. Let me cut some thread, perhaps make a nut, and cut a groove. And let's have a look at how it works. Just so you know, it's a new day in the shed and 24 hours has gone since the last video. Again, needed more time to think. Here's the hex bar, and this is the other side of the bike. I decided I'd start on the foot pedal side to get a vibe for it. So the groove that I cut is 4.5 inches away from the centre of the frame, arbitrarily, but I can put it anywhere I like at this stage. I'm thinking of putting a split pin or another circlip in here on both sides to stop it moving sideways. And I've been and seen someone and got some circlips. I actually got them for free, which was very nice of the person. And I'm hoping when I stretch them off, they go over. Now that has actually stretched those a fair bit. I don't like that, but anyway. I'm going to put 2 on. And I'm going to put 2 on to go holding the groove tighter so that they sit in the groove okay. And I've got the worst circlip pliers in the world. But anyway, it is what it is. So that's the concept with the circlips. The plate will sit over the back and can't slide past them because they sit proud all the way around. So then I've got 5mm of hex bar and the whole upright slides over the top. Then I would put a washer and a spring washer and a nut. And I had to make the nut because I didn't have any half-inch cycle thread. So that's the concept. I'm hoping to have the uprights cut in the next few days, early next week, and hopefully you're seeing this video early next week. I'll get you off the tripod and I'll give you a much closer look, and hopefully some of this makes sense, and maybe you even agree with me that it might work. Straight away you're looking at what I've just shown you. Here's a closer look. Here are the circlips. They cannot come out of that groove. They can only push backwards. And as I said, there's two, because that's the width of my parting tool in the lathe. Here's the thread. I don't need a recess there for the threads to be cut all the way, because in reality, that's all going to push tight. I can always alter it. And then the nut, and the nut actually came up really well. I'm really pleased with it. Will tighten up against it, and a little bit of Loctite. And that way, you negate the need for this and that pin and the welded portion, and you'll end up with something like that, except perhaps not quite as tall. I think they're way too tall or too long. But that's the concept. That will tighten up against there. And I hope that by putting a split pin in here, it can push back against the frame on both sides. I don't want to have this encapsulated that I can't get it out. Now I'm going to push on and make some footrests out of some solid bar, and then I'll be all ready if these plates come back. Leave that with me and I'll push on and have a go at that. I've just finished up the end of the shaft. I've put a heavy chamfer on it and I've flattened it off and given it a file. I don't want it to come through or have a sharp edge on a footrest rubber. I'm planning on using BSA bantam ones and hoping that the 19mm will be good. Reality is I used inch shaft because that's what I had, and I turned the whole thing down to 19mm because it's what I had and it was in the scrap bucket. You can see this end, I've marked off an inch. Yeah, exactly. And now the arbitrary figure, an inch, just because I can, and I'm going to cut that down to 3/8 and cut a thread on it, and then we'll be good to go. I'll just finish up turning the carbide insert to give myself a fresh cutting edge. I'm pretty hard on inserts, probably because I'm a rank amateur and I break the points. Not really sure why. I have got that one hanging out a long way, but you know, I'm not sure that's a huge issue. Or maybe it is. I'm really close. I'm not really close, I'm right there. Nah, I'm not going to bore you with showing you the whole thing. I'll bring you back when I'm cutting some thread. Here's the workpiece, and I have brought that down to about $9.97, and I've put a chamfer here and here, and I'm just going to take that out. Now, this is how I do it, because you can end up with threads that are not straight, and I've got plenty here in the workshop. It doesn't work, and I'm not exactly sure I can show you this, but anyway. So I use the tailstock to bring the die and the die holder up behind the work, and then my blade will just let that go past. Now I'm going to try and show you as I do it. You'll have to look under my arm, and I turn the lathe without it running while I'm just applying gentle pressure onto the hand wheel. I mean gentle pressure. You know, you're not looking to change the world with this, but what it does is it gets the die started straight, or it appears to. If I cut this by hand in the bench, for whatever reason, and I don't know what I do wrong, I end up with threads that pull to one side. Maybe one of you can tell me. And then once it's started, and I'll go a bit further, I'll take it down to the bench and finish it off by hand, and I'll have a straight thread. Little boy tap magic. I use it for everything. It's not cheap, but gee, it works well. Never reaching for the power button on the lathe, ever. And that should nearly do. Because the workpiece is just about through the die, I'm going to take it out of the lathe and take it down to the vise and have a go at it down there. And sometimes you need to adjust the vise. Don't leave the chuck key in. You can see that we've got a start and we're ready to go. Come down to the vise. You're looking side on at the vise. I'm going to mount the pressure on this, but I am going to roll the die back out. Just give it all a little tap on the bench. To knock the swarf out. Actually, oh, there it goes. It's coming out. I had a big piece of swarf curled up in there. This end of the footrest has a guide hole in the end of it that I used when I put a live centre into the lathe when I was machining 13 inches of inch bar down to 3/4. You do what you got to do. I had it in stock, didn't cost me anything. One last clean out, and then hopefully we've got a thread that's straight. I don't know whether I'm articulating what a crooked thread is, but maybe some of you will understand. It's a pain in the bottom, and it's a thread cut to one side of your workpiece. And it looks bad, and it's probably not strong. Anyway, enough of that. And there we go. That's the thread cut. Now normally, in a thread that goes up against the shoulder like that, I would cut a relief at the back of the thread so that the nut can come, you can cut the threads all the way to the end and the nut can come properly. Keep in mind, I've got 8mm of upright going through there, so there's just no need. I'm going to get some nuts and then I'll show you what it all looks like. Down here at bench height. Now the reality is, one I just made is the second one. I'd already made a first one, but you can see how it works. Flat washer, spring washer, 3/8 nut. And that will be sandwiched inside the plate, or the plate will go into that groove. There's going to be a 10mm hole cut in the plate with the plasma cutter, CNC or whatever you call it, and then this is 3/4. Now I just left that the length of the material I had. It's currently 5.5 inches long, or 137 or 8. I actually think they're too long, but I elected not to cut it off until I got a set of footrest rubbers. And I think I might have said, yeah, I'm thinking about Bantam rubbers because they're the right price and they look very correct. They'll look super, I think. A few days have elapsed, and probably more like 6 or 7. I've made this piece for the footrest, and in theory it works. In the meantime, I had these made at, well, I suppose he's a friend, at Trav's place. He's Lurico Engineering in East End Steel here in Colac, and he's got a CNC plasma cutter that cuts nice quality, and he designed and cut these plates for the footrest for me. It's a relatively simple process, I gather. If you know what you're doing, have a look at Trav cutting them out. Trav, I really appreciate the effort and I appreciate the footage. So here's the plate, and the expression Trav used was he overcut the corners, and it's like a small extra piece cut into the corners just to get a really tight fit onto the bar. Now I'm hoping that when I put all this on, and I'm hoping you can see, that this will tighten up the way I think. And it kind of does. And then the footrest should screw into here. Let me grab one. Rightio. Here's the footrest that I made. And we saw footage of that. You didn't see me cut inch down to 3/4, but nonetheless, I did. And then this will screw onto here. Now everything's a bit long and everything's a bit big, but, oh, and everything's a bit crooked. There we go. Let's get this on the bike and see if we can get some proof of concept. Trav cut me out 4 of these plates, and because I asked him to, and I'll have 2 spares to see how we go. I need a little bit of clean up, but they look good. Let's have a look at them on the bike. The hex bar goes back through the hole that I filed out, and with a push and a shove, because it is a firm fit, it'll go back to about where you want. Now I did disassemble all this just as we were coming over. Then the plate can go in a few spots, and I did have a couple of sleepless nights thinking about this as to where it needs to go. But you know, you have got some adjustability. So it can go there, which doesn't look too bad. Or it can go backwards. I don't think the others are relevant. Or it could go back to about there. And it is a snug fit. And that looks a bit low to me. Be interested in your comments. Given the height of the pedal, that looks too low. I think that it's probably this height that is the go, but I could be wrong. Right. The plate with the hole cut in it slides onto your hex bar and goes on 5mm before it butts up against the circlips. And then I've got a flat washer to distribute pressure and a spring washer and a nut I made myself. I'm going to grab the right size spanner and I'm going to tighten that up and see what it looks like. Now it doesn't need to be super tight, but that's tightened up really well. As I said, there's 2 circlips there, and then I can push that in as far as I want. Now keep in mind, everything's long, so I can cut that off and not have an excess of thread hanging out. But I made everything long just because I could. And then here's our 3/4 foot peg with 3/8 thread on the back of it, and then there's a flat washer to distribute pressure, and there's a spring washer, because these are footrests. These are going to vibrate like hell. Let me tighten this up and find the right size spanner and give that a snug up too. Now, the only movement you can get out of the footrest is a slight backwards and forwards, and I mean slight. The other side can be done the same way. I've got another plate, and we get the other side right. Now, I've left the other side ridiculously long, and I'm going to leave it that way for a while until I get a primary chain case back, and until I get a vibe of where does all this fit. Then I'm going to drill a hole in here against the engine mount plate and put a split pin through. And I'm going to do that on either side so that the footrest cannot move left or right. They'll be held by a split pin. Now I could use a circlip, but I favour the split pin because it's easier to get it in and out. Getting a split pin over all that distance, getting a circlip over all that distance and getting the circlips perfectly in the right place might be just a challenge for me. So I fancy that this is the way to go. I've got clearance for the brake pedal, and I'm happy about that. And I've got nice rigid footrests that won't roll either way, and they're removable. I'd have to say I'm well pleased. Proof of concept, that's going to work. Closer look from a different angle. Of course, this is the brake pedal. Here's the 3/4 bar, 3/8. There's a flat washer and a spring washer and a nut. Flat washer, spring washer, heavy nut. In here is where I'm talking about putting the split pin. Doesn't matter which face of it I do it on, as long as it's firm against there, and we'll do the same on the other side. Brake pedal clearance, just. But I actually believe this is close to what it might have been. They certainly came with these heavy round plates. Perhaps not 8mm. I have gone for the Doctor. I went, for something quite heavy. But I really feel as though that's going to be a good outcome. I'm going to use BSA Bantam footrest rubbers, and I think they're going to fit on here beautiful. Maybe a slight bit of masking tape just to get a bit of grab out of them. And these are long. I've made those pretty long, so they can be shortened up too. Good outcome though. I'm sitting in front of one of the things that I think that I'm proudest of in the last little bit. A lot of things are just bolt together, and that's fine, and you make them and they work, and that's good because you are only copying an original part. This is stuff that I really enjoy because I made it from scratch. Now, I had the hex bar and I had the rod and I did most of it. What did it cost? It cost $34 to get 4 of these cut out. $17 a pair or $8.50 each. No money. He did the design, he did the file, he did the cutting. Trav at East End Steel and Lorico Engineering, you're a good guy. I know we've done a lot of things together, but that's pretty good, and I'm pretty happy. So, if you're around here and you need that sort of thing done, get on to Trav. I didn't get him for nothing. There's no gratuity involved, but he's a good guy. Took the time to get these right. I suppose I could have halved the amount that I got, and maybe, still would have been $30. He's got his design time. These worked out really well. I think they're going to work super, super well. If you can see a flaw, let me know. Kindly though, because I'm a bit proud of them. Because footrests, why are they always missing from bikes? Well, I don't know. No idea. But they are. They're regularly missing, and they're a regular problem. This is probably one of the better solutions I've had over 5 or 6 bikes of trying to replace footrests with something that looks original. Anyway, I'm excited. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It's a bit ragtag because it took a fair while to do, but in the end, the bolt together just takes a couple of minutes. Anyway, that's Flat Tank Journey for another week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button. Send me a comment. Like your feedback on these. And please hit the subscribe button if you would. It helps it out. It's all good. Anyway, have a good one. Cheers.